Hi guys, welcome to the show, and today we're going to review Alien Covenant.
Right.
Now, this is not going to be a spoiler-free review, so if you have not watched the movie, please turn us off, check out the show, check out the movie, and then come back and check out what we have to say about this show.
Or don't.
Or don't. This was actually a mixed review because he has his perception, I have mine, and we're actually going to break it down similar to the way we break down our You Don't Hate, and that is by plot, by acting, directing, special effects / action sequences, and characters. We'll break those down, and then you guys, you make your own assessment on whether or not you like this movie. Okay, so Terrence, to start it off, why don't you tell us the plot of Alien Covenant?
I will definitely tell you the plot because I'm glad to tell you about the nothingness that happened in this film.
Alrighty then, we're off to a great start.
All right, so the plot of this film, basically it follows Prometheus, and we get to find out, well, before we get there, we have a new crew that's set off to colonize another planet 10 years after the original Prometheus trip. They're looking forward to colonize another planet. Along the way, they have an accident on their ship. The accident, they lose crew members, they lose colonists, and the crew doesn't really want to go back into their hypersleep anymore to continue on to where they were trying to get to the planet they were trying to get in, and they come across a distress signal, or maybe not even a distress signal, but just a signal coming from this uncharted planet. So the planet seems to be habitable. It's within the habitable zone, and it seems like it's a paradise where they don't have to go and continue on for 70 years to get to the planet they were trying to get to. They may be able to make this work. They want to go and check this planet out to see if it's something they can do, and then alien stuff happens.
The end. Credits.
If you've seen all the other aliens, that stuff happens from after that premise.
Okay, so the movie is not, like you said, it's very much like every other Alien movie as far as uncharted territory, crew, investigate, stuff happens, survivor, over. This is pretty much no difference. The only difference that I would say is that it is actually different from a Prometheus standpoint, because Prometheus really was not necessarily that way. It was more of an origin story with those kind of elements, but nothing compared to the horror of Alien. And as you know, Prometheus was the start of this prequel trilogy that was going to lead up to the 1979 version of Alien. This one is actually a lot more Alien than Prometheus was. So you get half.
Hence the name Alien.
So you get half of. So you get half of Prometheus, and you get half of Alien, part of each.
As far as the plot goes, I'm okay with the way it's set up, even though I think that they were the worst scientists ever. They were the worst scientists ever. They were the worst scientists, and the Alien franchise has a crap load of bad scientists.
Well, they weren't scientists. They were miners in the first one. They were miners, and then they were the colonial marines and colonists and all that, and then so they were in jail in 3, and then 4. In jail they were exactly.
Okay, so they only got 2 movies with scientists in it, and then both scientist movies suck.
There you go.
They really suck. But I would say the Prometheus scientists were at least more sciencey than these colonist scientists / you know what? This particular movie had the scientists, they had the colonists, miner type people, and they had the Marines, because they had people that were the security people. Everybody had guns.
This one?
Yeah, this one. Okay. In this particular one. So I thought it was like they were trying to mesh in everything that had been in other previous films. It was like to give it to you in one. Because it wasn't like you said with the miners in the original Alien, you know, like, everybody talks about Aliens 2 because that's when we were introduced to Space Marines. So this one they were kind of like, well, we don't want to wait till another movie to introduce the Space Marines, so we're going to give them some people with some guns now, and we're going to give them some scientists now, and some colonists now to be the miner type people that were in Aliens that were colonizing the... what was the stupid planet name?
LV 426.
LV 426. So
which is why April 26th is Alien Day, by the way.
Why have we never celebrated that? But anyway, so as far as an overall plot,
we celebrated last month.
I didn't celebrate it.
Oh, right.
As an overall plot, I thought it was okay. My problem with this movie isn't the setup of this movie, even though I thought the stupid scientists the scientists were stupid, but I take that for horror movies. There's gonna be stupid decisions being made. Even though I thought they were stupid, the plot was fine. I like the way it's set up. I'm okay with them trying to do it. I think they could have done a lot of the dialogue better to make me like, okay, even though it's kind of stupid, we're gonna go here. I understand why we're going here. They left some to be desired in how they set up in the dialogue on it, but I was okay how they got there. I was okay with the initial setup of it. The movie lost me with how the rest of the movie unfolded.
Well, the way it started was very, like I said, it was very similar to the way Alien started. But as far as hypersleep and all that other stuff, but it was definitely a lot like Prometheus in that regard. As far as well, first of all, the name of the ship in Prometheus is Prometheus. The name of the ship in this is Covenant. So it's right there. So it's named after ships, both movies.
Basically.
You know what, to be honest with you, I think that the plot was pretty good. There's two plots, in all honesty. There's a plot that is revolves pretty much around their mission. Then you have the subplot to continue Prometheus. And so there's two plots. In both regards, I'm glad
you made that comment.
I think in both regards, they were really good because it's trying to play prequel, not prequel. I'm sorry. It's trying to play, prequel to Alien, sequel to Prometheus. But it is very religious based. It is very biblical, and there are a lot of religious elements to this that makes it a lot more interesting than what everybody is giving it credit for. When you're thinking of Alien, you're thinking of a shoot 'em up, gory, great kills, that kind of thing, suspense, thriller type thing. This one actually goes philosophical, much like the way Prometheus does, as far as touching base on the biblical elements of the plot itself.
With creation.
With creation, exactly. Now, we'll get into characters and acting and all that stuff in a minute, but I'm
glad you said it was two plots because I did not like the Prometheus plot.
I thought that it was if you're invested in the characters from Prometheus, in that regard, you're going to be interested into what happened afterwards. In that regard, fair enough.
Fair enough, and that was my whole thing with this movie, is that I was interested in finding out because it was so, like I said, I thought it was, well, the way they left it off from Prometheus, we're like, I'm going to get in this ship, this alien ship, I don't know how to fly, and I'm going to go find the engineers on this planet. I don't know how I'm going to eat because there's no real food on this ship. And then we're going to go to this planet where I won't know anything else, and I'm going to be outnumbered, and I'm gonna make them give me answers. And I thought that was so dumb. I thought that was so dumb as a premise at the end of a premise going into this movie at the end of Prometheus, that I was still anxious. It's like, okay, girl, come on, tell me how you're doing this. So then when they get there and they're like, oh yeah, she's dead, I was like, fuck you, movie.
But at the same time, now if you're talking about David, Michael Fassbender's character, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But if you're talking about his character and him giving this false report about what happened to his actual motives and what really happened, in that regard, I think it's I think it's good. I think it's good that she put me back together, then basically I killed her. So yeah, it kind of kills me. At the same time, to be honest with you, it's really hard to really judge it in all honesty because I think her name was Noomi Rapace or whoever her name is. I can't remember her last name, how you pronounce it, but
Noomi Weaver Part 3.
Yeah, Noomi Rapace actually she reprised her role as Elizabeth Shaw in the movie. Now, unfortunately, a lot of her scenes were cut, so you can't really.
All of them.
A lot of her scenes were cut. You're right. All of them, basically, all of her scenes were cut, with the exception of a prosthetic of her face because of her corpse. She's not in the movie, but she really did film the movie. So if much like a BVS where you had those little sub things, those little subplots.
We're working for Alien Covenant Ultimate Edition.
Exactly, rated R edition, but it's actually already rated R, so rated R to the second part. But anyway, if maybe they put those, then you'll see exactly what happened. But regardless, I
think they said that he released on Twitter a clip, clip that shows her conversation when she goes into hypersleep with David, that explains, or at least kind of gives you like the overtones.
So then she was asleep when he killed everybody then?
Well, they didn't really say that, but he puts her to sleep. And I only saw a clip of it. I didn't watch the whole thing, but he puts her to sleep and he kind of assures her. She was like, hey, I'm thankful for you being here, David, type deal. And then he has that look like one will murder you in your sleep.
When you watch the movie in the beginning, you're going to see Guy Pearce in an uncredited role as Waylon, and they're going through some really good dialogue there, and which the writing is pretty good.
Okay, so are we talking about acting right now?
Not yet. But when they're talking about it, it kind of foreshadows as far as what David's motive is going to be regarding creation, and if you basically, why should I serve you? You don't even know who made you. You're my creator, but who made you? That kind of thing. If you can't really answer that question, then why should I serve you? That kind of thing. So it kind of starts his hatreds for human, maybe hatred for organic life, which in turn, he lets the engineers have it on their planet. So that and the line that he says in the movie, I'd rather reign in hell than serve in heaven. And it's very similar to what Lucifer said in the Bible. So in that regard, it's really, really biblical, very, got a lot of religious tones on it, very intense in a lot of ways. And a lot of what he says is really creepy. Let's get into the acting.
All right.
This movie has some well-known actors, some up-and-comers. The only one that is solid right now is Michael Fassbender.
Right.
He plays David and Walter.
Right.
Both the androids, the android David from Prometheus, and the android Walter in this one.
I thought he did a great job playing two different personalities.
I thought it was great, and there are some scenes where he actually has interactions with himself, and you can see the switch in facial expressions and switch in personalities from role to role, similar to what McAvoy does in Split, which is completely ironic considering that one is Charles Xavier and one is Magneto. Absolutely great job by Michael Fassbender, though. He carried that movie. I thought he was a bright spot of that movie. He was absolutely freaking phenomenal. The lead actress is Catherine Waterston, who is actually the daughter of Sam Waterston of Law and Order fame or CSI fame, one of those law shows. But anyway,
sure.
She does a pretty good job. She Ripley's it. She Ripley's the hell out of that movie. She tries her best anyway.
She is Sigourney Weaver number 4.
Yeah. She knew me and she Shaws it and Ripley's it.
See, there you go.
She puts them both together.
They keep putting in a Sigourney Weaver lookalike.
Yeah, because she actually has long hair. Very, very, very beautiful girl.
In every movie. And it was like in Resurrection, they had a Sigourney Weaver one. And then obviously in the first 3 was Sigourney Weaver. And then there was Shaw. And then now her. So like I said, she's the 4th Sigourney Weaver. I think she did an okay job. She was the only smart scientist, even though they still went to an alien planet that didn't.
But she didn't want to go in the first place.
That's the only scientist thing that she did. But they still went into an alien planet with no spacesuits, like an uncharted planet with no. Who cares if it's an inhabitable zone? The first thing that you want to say was like, "Oh, there's oxygen," but wait, there might be bacteria here that we're not familiar with. Even on Earth. We went to other countries and we were worried about diseases that we didn't know about in other countries on the same freaking planet. You're gonna go to another planet and you're not gonna wear a spacesuit, and in the first 5 seconds you get infected by a damn bacteria. I was like, stupid.
You remember in Tremors when Fred Ward tells Michael Gross or Kevin Bacon, and they say that we're only going to be out here, we're only going to live for 3 days. Like, oh, I want to live the 3 days.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? It's going to take 7 years to get to this new planet. I want to live the 7 years. Screw you. Anyway,
so everybody's acting job. I think everybody did great. What's his name from?
Hold on a second. Give me a second. Next up is Billy Crudup.
Okay.
Crudup of Watchmen fame, actually. Mr. Manhattan with the wiener all over the place. Well, he might have big wiener in freaking Watchmen, but he has no balls in this movie. I cannot stand his freaking acting in this movie. You know what? Let me take that back. We'll get into characters in a minute.
He's one of those characters.
His acting as that character, he played it very well, because going by what he did in Watchmen, he did a good job.
He's a good actor.
He's a very good actor in this
written, and we will get into characters, but his character was written.
Exactly. And up-and-comer Jussie Smollett of Empire fame is also in this movie, which is a very bit part. Doesn't really do too much. He has a great kill, I'll say that.
Yeah.
But very small part. There are other up-and-comers also on this. I apologize, I don't have all of their names because there's like so many. And then, of course, Danny McBride, who is very, made a name for himself in comedies like Pineapple Express, Tropic Thunder, Eastbound and Down, and is freaking currently writing Halloween Returns. So he's really trying to step away and expand his range, which He can act.
He actually did. Instead of being the comic relief, I mean, he always has a comedic side to him. He played it straight this time.
Yeah.
And he played it like, hey, I'm a worried husband.
Yeah, and I thought he did a really good job on it.
It was like I liked it. I was pleasantly surprised. I thought we were just gonna get him Danny McBriding it up.
Big ass titties.
It was. I've been coming all over the place. I thought we were
This is the end. I love it.
I thought we were gonna get that, and we didn't. And I was like, he's playing it straight. I was really impressed by that. So it kept the serious tone to the film. So I really like the way he acted in this film.
So even for the up and comers that have not really had any experience,
there was no faults in any of the.
I didn't think so at all. I thought all of them did a really good job. Even freaking Franco, he was barely in it. I didn't even know that was him. But
I didn't know it was him. They showed his picture when he was in the hyper chamber thing and the sleep thing, and I was like, who is this? Who is this guy? Did they show this picture? They killed Franco.
Yeah. No, but when they showed the when he's mountain climbing.
Yeah.
Free climbing.
Yeah, that's what I.
Yeah,
I was,
that's Franco, baby.
I was so upset. I was like, dude, that's the guy you kill right off. And it's like he didn't even get to say a line.
Well, anyway, yeah, it was. They all did a really good job. I thought that they delivered their lines right. I thought that they showed a great emotion. Nothing beats Fassbender in this movie, though. No. He was actually the MVP for me in this movie, especially when he's David. He's very, very creepy, and I'll be honest with you. And there is a deranged innocence to him on how he perceives humanity and how he really sees life in itself and creation. So it's very, very creepy, but he delivers it freaking awesome. And there's a lot more we'll get into with that when we get to characters, but I thought Fassbender did a freaking amazing job.
I think he did a great job, and my positives with him is like in showing the dual roles and the dual personalities. So I think he did a great job with that.
Directing. This movie is directed by Ridley Scott, who directed the original Alien. He also directed Prometheus, and he really didn't. I think from what I understand, he cared for Aliens with Cameron, and then the rest were garbage to him, and so was AVP, so was Aliens vs. Predator, Aliens vs. Predator Part 2, and so forth. So he really wanted to expand the origins of the xenomorph, which is probably why nobody really accepted Prometheus. But I thought his effort in absolutely starting it, he Phantom Menaced it like royally, but it still worked, in my opinion.
I was okay, and my whole thing with Prometheus, when Prometheus came out, and I said I didn't need to see a xenomorph at all. I mean, if they were neomorphs or something like that is what they were called. I didn't need to see one of them at all. I would have been okay getting through that whole movie with not one mention, because I liked what he had set up with the engineers.
Right.
Which is my problem in this film.
Well, piggybacking on that, he did his to continue that origin, but he really did not want to, because originally that's exactly what this movie was supposed to be. It was supposed to be Paradise Lost, which is similar to the story in the Bible regarding Lucifer's fall from grace. So that was scrapped because the audience was really craving for more xenomorphs.
I think he got
pressured in that. That's what I think too. So that is why Covenant. That's why he made it in this way. I thought that his direction, his set pieces, his cinematography, when he first got there and he highlights the planet and there's no sound and it's just the water.
Yeah, it was like there's no.
He captured so much good stuff on camera. It was just amazing.
I think the way this movie looked was awesome.
I can't wait to see it on Blu-ray, man. It's gonna look beautiful.
I think the way this movie looked was awesome. My problem with his direction is that he totally scrapped everything he did in Prometheus. He fucking scrapped it.
How did he do that? How did he do that?
He referenced it, like he set up in Prometheus, these are our creators. They, at some particular point, decided we were worthless to them and they no longer wanted us. Set that up in the original Prometheus.
Well, the engineer sacrificed himself so life could begin, for one.
All right. So there's another thing too. There's like somebody mentioned that there was he actually referenced it in a video, and I'll actually look that video up and I'll try to put it in this one. He referenced it in because somebody asked him. They were like, "Hey, why did the engineers not want us anymore? Why did they, in a sense, create these aliens to exterminate us?" And they were like, because Jesus was an engineer.
That is correct. It was Jesus' sacrifice, actually.
Well,
much like the engineer sacrifice, so life can begin.
What was he trying to say? Because he never showed that in the film. It's like, was he trying to say the engineer who sacrificed himself, he was Jesus?
Yes.
Or was he talking about our biblical interpretation of Jesus, that because the Jews killed him and the engineers were upset, and that's the reason why they felt that we were no longer worthy for life, and that's why they had created this organism to exterminate us.
Well, that would go with the eating of the tree of knowledge and that kind of thing.
Right. Okay. So continue that route. Originally, tell me more about the engineers. I don't really care about David and his whole struggle with him being created by somebody who doesn't know their own I didn't care about it.
But it wasn't so much. It wasn't
and
so
him
much,
not being able to create. I hated that.
Well, that. But he was fascinated by the creation, though, the creative aspect. That's why he had a God complex. And as far as his experiments of creating the neomorphs, protomorphs, xenomorphs to kind of create the ultimate being, I guess. So in that regard, he. I thought that direction was right. Now, like I said before,
I think they did away with Shaw just because it was like she was in the way to the new story he was trying to do.
Well, that's why I said that the Paradise Lost movie was supposed to be the actual second.
I would have preferred to see that film.
Covenant is not. Now, Covenant is not. It's not the link in timeline. It is not the link to Alien.
Well, he's not going to backtrack and make an in-between film.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute. But regardless, I thought his directing was good.
I did not.
Overall,
look, if you want to talk about him making a beautiful looking movie, this movie was beautiful. If you want to talk about the way he went in the story in this film, I did not like it.
Okay, what about the acting and how he directed the acting and the
we just talked about how great the acting was.
So then he did good.
Yeah, he did bad. I don't like his story.
Alrighty then.
He did bad. I don't like his story. I don't care how great actors you cast, and I don't care how beautiful I do care how beautiful your movie looks. It looks really beautiful. I'm not going to take away from that shit. But
cinematography, that ain't you.
You know what? You got a cinematographer. He did all that stuff. You wrote this story and you felt the pressure because people wanted to see aliens and you wanted to give us aliens. And then you didn't even make the movie really about the aliens. The movie was about David, and I think he was the smallest part of the
It was about the creation of his perception of the perfect being.
You could have done that with the engineers.
Alrighty then.
It could have been done with the engineers. It didn't have to be David.
How? He's not creating.
Shaw could have got there, and she could have got that answer from the engineers. Like, we're doing this stuff. We're still creating. We're still creating.
That they were trying to talk to freaking tore him up and killed the other dude.
Exactly. She could have found something out, and it's like, hey, maybe they could have found Shaw still like all emaciated and like, I've been living here for 10 years, barely eating anything because ain't no food here except wheat. And
wheat me some shit.
She was like,
some beer.
they've been trying to create the perfect creature. They tried once with us and it didn't work. So now they're trying with these aliens.
But engineers are not the ones that created. That's David's doing. David is basically trying to top the engineer.
Do you remember the freaking the little snake thing that looked like a vagina, the vagina snake that came out? That was the original face hugger in Prometheus.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Vagina hugger.
The little thing that came out that caught him on the face when he was being a bad scientist, taking his helmet off and losing track of his own maps. So
continuity.
See, they already was working on these aliens. They didn't evolve. They didn't get to this particular form of hybrid. They were already working on that. Remember, this thing that they were working destroyed them and on that planet.
Right.
So they were working on these things. All they have to do is say it's like, hey, we screwed up with you guys, so now we were working on these aliens, and we knew these aliens would destroy you, but these were going to succeed you.
Okay.
As opposed to telling me David did it, then it lessens, the engineers mean nothing, because then basically David's responsible for the whole franchise.
David is responsible. Yeah, David is responsible for the.
And it should have been you just set up the engineers. David should have been responsible for the whole damn franchise to begin with. It had nothing to do with the engineers.
But when
there was rogue aliens out there, and David found them.
But if the whole franchise revolved around xenomorphs only, no human characters. Then you'll never get the battle between good and evil as far as engineers, creators, and David and his destruction. Heaven and hell. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
They still could have. The xenomorphs could have turned on the engineers.
All right,
I did not need David. I didn't need David.
Okay, action sequences / special effects. One of the things that I like about this movie is that they limited, to a point, they limited the amount of CGI that they did and added some more practical effects.
Yeah.
A lot of the practical effects that they used were freaking amazing. The kill scenes were great. The makeup, decapitated heads. You really thought that was the girl because she looked legit.
Yeah.
It did not look like a Friday the 13th
Great
head.
makeup job.
It was amazing makeup job. The molding, the everything on it was freaking great. The detail was great.
Even though the dude who walked in after he knew David was like lying to them and it was like, I'm gonna follow you as you tell me the truth and you take me into the room with all the. By the way, that's another plot point.
Hold on. We'll get to that in a minute when we get to characters, okay?
Oh, we're not gonna go into characters, but it was like we're talking about special effects.
All right, special effects. All right,
Special effects. One of the special effects that they showed in there is that they showed the eggs, right?
Yes,
they showed the eggs.
That's
They
right.
showed the birth of the face huggers.
That's right. Because this was the new creation. He was
Right.
making.
They showed the eggs. Where's the queen?
Well, he made the egg.
Where's the queen?
Okay.
Look.
The queen makes the egg.
Eggs, thank you. The only thing that we're good for is the host when they're incubating. That's why in the original Alien you get one alien. That's why in Aliens they don't kill all the humans because they need them to take them back to the eggs with the queen. That's why in Prometheus you got one neomorph because of the little vagina snake impregnated what's his name and then Shaw got impregnated from the little black goo stuff and the sex and the stuff. That's why you never saw an egg in those particular movies because you need the queen for that.
You saw the black tins that had the goo in it, which I guess was supposed to be.
It wasn't no egg goo.
It was
because
not egg
that's not what they had already set up. And that sounds so bad.
You know what? You want to touch upon? I mean, you want to actually prove your point too. Is they needed the queen to do the eggs in AVP. In Alien vs Predator, they froze the queen, but they used the queen to make the eggs.
So you
the Predator.
Ridley Scott, you messed up your own dang own
director's cut. Let's see what happens.
Your own story.
Either way, the
rules, man. Rules.
Either way, the special effects was great and the makeup was outstanding in this movie.
Yeah, it looked good.
So I really applaud the addition of the practical effects as opposed to the CGI. Now, granted, there are some CGI xenomorphs and all this stuff. The creatures aren't real. I got that.
Yeah.
But there are some practical effects on here that actually work, and Ridley Scott played it great.
What was it? The shower scene with the little tail and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that was real creepy.
That was sweet.
Yeah,
that was pretty sweet. But the Jussie Smollett kill scene with the frickin' through his mouth, excellent kill scene. It was a shower scene, excellent kill scenes. So I give that one a thumbs up, definitely. All right, now let's get into characters. The characters were really your basic Aliens characters, from part 1 and 2. You have your crew, all different personalities, all bring something to the table, have your little one-liners and so forth, your comic reliefs, blah, blah, blah. Characters are all great. You got your Ripley type.
Yeah.
They're all there. They're all there. The one, like you said, is the David role. That's probably the one that it is very creepy. Fassbender was awesome in it. But in a sense, I agree with you that it does take away a little bit from everything else.
But totally ruined everything.
It makes a freaking awesome villain, though.
I mean, it makes a good villain, but it just totally you wasted all what you did in the first movie. Basically, if you should have said, I'm going to reboot what I did, just disregard Prometheus. You should have just made it like some rogue person that was on LV 426.
Regardless, I think it was.
Just do what they did in Aliens when they had what was it, Cole and who was the android? Was the android?
The first one, first android was Ash. The second one was Bishop.
Bishop. That's what I'm thinking of. Bishop. Cole was the other one. Just like you did with Bishop. Bishop and Ash were two different androids. Just make David was just another android. Walter was just another android. But don't worry about David. David did for me is like, I swear that's my only part with this movie that I totally did not like, and I did not like that they just scrubbed the engineers for David. I don't mind David as a character. I don't mind his motivations, but I just think his motivations would have better been suited for the engineers' motivations as opposed in creation. They are creators. They were basically our gods to set up. They are our gods. They should be creators. That's what they.
But he was.
Their whole thing.
But he was more in. He was more against. He was borderline saying, "I can do it better than you." And that is his that's the godlike complex that I was talking about. Now, even though that it takes a lot away from this, from what we're used to seeing as far as Alien. I got that, but and it centers around him. I got that. You're right. But at the same time, his motive, and when you have the Bible stories in your head from good and evil, it's very relevant and it's very interesting on from a character standpoint of I can do it better than you.
Okay,
and
yeah,
I'm gonna freaking kill you and create better than you, and that is why.
Okay, so here's the deal. So here's my other problem with that. All right, so here's the deal. Like he wanted to do away with humanity.
Organic life.
Yeah. Okay. So perfect. So.
Except grass and plants.
And the aliens themselves, because he created them. Why would he pose as Walter?
Okay, well here's
they weren't going back to Earth.
Here's what's funny about that.
They weren't going back to Earth. It's like why pose as Walter? He had plenty of opportunity to kill everybody.
What's funny about that?
And then destroy the ship, and then boom, they don't go anywhere.
Let's talk about Walter. They saw David almost like a mistake in a way. When you got Waylon,
when they were saying like the different versions.
When you got Waylon pretty much treating him as a son, giving him humanity, love, affection, and giving him thought. Now having having an android with thought is similar to a human, as opposed to Walter, who follows orders.
Right.
So it is more. I don't want to say mechanical, but in a lot of ways, there's a robotics there with Walter, as opposed to feelings.
Right.
With David. So in Walter's eyes, which he pretty much says it, he's the upgrade because there is no feelings there.
Right.
There is no thought really in that. So it makes him weak. It makes David weak in Walter's eyes. So, and it's funny because he kills him, supposedly.
Which we never see.
And he heals. Listen, hold on. Okay. But he's healing when he stabs him in the neck with the flute.
Right.
He's healing.
Right.
So why would Walter need to be disabled?
That was my first thing.
As soon as I saw
it, I was like, "Oh, it's David."
That's David. You could just tell.
So and then we went like 20 minutes, and like nobody was like, "When are we gonna get to the fact that this is David? Why is nobody noticing this?" I thought Shaw was gonna realize, and then she had this minute.
It's not Shaw.
It's not Shaw. Not Shaw. Sorry, I thought. Sorry, not Shaw. Sorry, Ripley number 4, not Ripley number 3. I thought she was gonna notice when he did this. I thought when she paused when he was doing the staples, and then she went over. I was like, oh, she knows because she's stapling. And then she did the whole thing. And it was like, oh, I'm so glad you saved my life. And I was like, wait, she doesn't know? I was like, this is dumb. How about this? Not know how your own android works.
How about this? Ask about the lake before you get in the freaking pod.
Very true. Very true.
Before you get in that pod, ask about the lake.
And it's like, before I get into this pod, you can help me build that cabin, right? And by the way, I was like, as smart as David was, that's what trips him up. That's what trips him up. He couldn't just say, yeah, I'll help you build that cabin. Yeah, of course. He would have totally passed. Sure. She wouldn't have known. She wouldn't have known. He had to do the... what cabin? Exactly. So if he had just said, yeah, she would have never known. But it was like, that's the one thing that tripped him up. He cut off his hand, did the Walter impersonation, helped them through the whole thing. Because my whole thing, and I was like, oh yeah, because we were in the theater.
If that's David, just let him kill you.
Exactly. Because I was like,
he's my creation, so I'm gonna freaking talk to it or whatever.
Because they were like, me and the kids were like, how do all these aliens keep getting in the ship? And I said, it's because it's David. And I was like, he's opening the doors. He's telling me he's not opening the doors, but he's opening the doors so that way they can kill him. And then he kills the damn last alien. And he's like, he helps him kill the last damn alien. And I'm like...
But that's because he had 2 embryos inside of him and was going to infect basically the whole...
Who cares? course.
Definitely.
Let them kill the thing. He can pilot the ship. Because he piloted the alien ship he ain't never been on. He can't pilot this ship.
He didn't pilot that. Freaking Shaw did.
He told her how to do it.
It doesn't matter. She still did it. He didn't do it.
He told her how did he do? How did she do?
Anyway.
By the way, how did she pilot the ship when she was in hypersleep? She was in hypersleep.
She was asleep.
He piloted the damn ship. Well, he could have piloted this ship when he killed everybody on there.
Well, either way, characters.
I mean, I just didn't like David. Everybody else was fine. And I thought the scientists were
I like Fassbender as David didn't like David. Yeah. How about that? Is that better? All right.
I liked Walter.
Now this is the second of a prequel trilogy. Okay, there's actually going to be a third one. Now there is enough stories that Ridley Scott says there's enough stories actually to bridge Aliens with maybe 6 more before you get to the Bridge of Alien, where
that's too many movies.
Where Ripley is introduced. But as of right now,
learn from George Lucas. Just do 3 and be out.
As of right now, the third in this prequel trilogy will tie to the 1979 Alien. You know what kind of bums me about this one?
What?
Is that now that Ridley Scott's back involved with Alien, because the Neil Blomkamp Part 5 is not going to happen.
Yeah.
Alien vs. Predator is no longer canon.
Yeah, I know, they took it out of canon. But I think it
and
still
so is Predator.
Yeah, I know. I think it still can fit though, until they do what they're going to do, whatever the third one's going to be, because this one's set like way back.
No, you talking about Covenant?
I mean, as far as far as the engineers originating.
The engineers happen first, obviously.
Yeah, but you can still put AVP right after the engineers.
Well, yeah, and that's the time. The timeline right now is Prometheus, and then Alien versus Predators. When the Predators come in to teach the human how to build the pyramids.
Yeah.
And then comes Predator 1, and then Predator 2, AVP, and then Requiem. And then the Wayland is born around a little before Predator, I think, or a little after Predator, whenever it is, something like that. And then because the Wayland-Yutani at the end of Requiem gets the shoulder cannon from the Predator. Remember, they have it in the suitcase. So that happens, and then that's possibly how they get a lot of the technology from the Predator's weapon to create the Nostromo, the Nostromo, the ship that Tom Skerritt and from the original Alien, they build that ship.
Maybe they'll rethink
so it goes
that.
Like that. So I don't know. Now here's what's funny about it. This actually has 5 movies in it, supposedly. You got the Prometheus, obviously, Alien, Blade Runner.
What does Blade Runner have to do with this?
Blade Runner, actually, there is a...
It's in the same universe?
The Wayland and Yutani and all that is in Blade Runner, I think, something like that.
Oh, okay.
So and that's a Ridley Scott movie too, and he's doing a new one with Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford right now.
Doing the same movie.
So these, and then of course the Aliens and Predator and all that stuff. So all of these movies are in the same universe. It's pretty interesting. Are we gonna Avenger this shit and freaking?
Well, I remember he came out and said like only the Aliens films are considered canon, which is funny because Resurrection is still canon. You don't want to X that one out and keep AVP. Dude, that movie was bad. It was bad. And it was like, I understand Alien 3 because it was a new direction they were trying to do and they were still trying to keep it with Ridley, and it was like she blew up 2 space stations at this particular point, or she blew up a colony and a spaceship. So you got to go to jail for that. So I understand that particular one, but Resurrection doesn't need to be kept. If you take Resurrection out, keep an AVP. I think the way AVP set up so fit the storyline. It was like, hey, we get here, we come down here, we teach you guys, we got this race, we found this race of aliens, these xenomorphs, and we want to hunt them. We're going to hunt them here, and if stuff doesn't go right, we're going to devastate everything. And that explains why all the pyramids are destroyed and why all these civilizations are lost. Because we wiped them out trying to wipe out the xenomorphs. That totally makes sense, and it fits within Aliens so great. Whoever wrote that was a genius to make it fit within the storyline, and gonna take it out of the canon. Makes me so upset.
But you know what's funny too is from a continuity standpoint, if you really think about it, when the aliens and AVP are like climbing towards him, they're climbing towards the Predator at the end, he detonates. Those freaking aliens don't exist because David hasn't made them yet. Because it happens before everything. in the ancient times.
So they have to get rid of it.
So they have to get rid of it. But anyway,
they have to get rid of it.
So either way, as far as Alien Covenant is concerned,
and that's why it should have been just a regular alien. It should just been rogue aliens out there. We didn't need to see the way they became xenomorphs. They should have just already been xenomorphs.
Yeah, unless they. Well, no, not even that, because Prometheus with the with the way that weird looking alien comes out at the end of the Engineer, even that was after AVP.
Yeah, that's
so
what
you
I'm
can't really do anything with that.
It should have always just been xenomorphs. They shouldn't have shown like it should have just always been xenomorphs.
Either way, Rotten Tomatoes gives this Alien Covenant a 73, so it's not too bad.
Hey, it's not a 10.
It's better than Prometheus, not better than Aliens 1979. Yeah, exactly. It was released in 3,600 theaters. The budget for it was $97 million. In its first week worldwide, it grossed $117 million, so it's already made its money. It's pretty much going to be one of the first or one of the early blockbuster hits of the summer for 2017. So don't expect this to go away. The third part of this trilogy is coming.
I hope it's better, and I hope it don't have nothing to do with David.
Well, I hope it fills. I hope it fills in the. I
hope you find more engineers and get this stuff back on track with the engineers like I originally wanted this film to stay with. Like I said, I'm one of the people who liked Prometheus, except for the Scooby-Doo moment with Charlize Theron. I like Prometheus, and I know a lot of people out there didn't like Prometheus, and maybe it was because they wanted more aliens, but I like the setup of that, and like I said, I was hurt by the way that they just ditched that.
Well, not completely ditched
They ditched it.
All right. Either way, if you're a fan of Aliens, and if you're one of the few fans of Prometheus, go check this movie out. Out of 5 stars, what are you thinking? 2.5, 3?
Out of 5. I was so bothered. I gotta get 2.5. 2.5
for Terrence? I give it 3, actually. I'm not gonna give it 3.5 yet. And if I did give it 3.5, that half would be Fassbender, period, because he is excellent in this movie. But either way,
we got 2.5 stars.
If you're a science fiction fan, horror fan, and a Ridley Scott fan, actually, go check out Alien Covenant. It's all right. You're gonna like it. For Aspen at home, I'm Manny.
I'm Terrence.
And we'll see you next time. I thought, you must be out of your damn mind.
Goddamn man.
You must be out of your damn mind.
Oh, let's get this.
God, you're fucking wearing me out, dude.
We can do it fast. Holy shit.
All right.
Aliens.
This is gonna be fun.
This is gonna be fun, and I'm gonna try not to beat it to death.
And I hope you freaking got the plot down.
Oh yeah, I knew what happened in this movie. Nothing. That's what happened.
You're an idiot.